Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? The sun is shining. Yay! So excited about that. I want to welcome you. I'm actually not the one who's running Faces of History. Miss Amazing Melinda Olson will be doing that in just a minute. But we interrupt this thing that has not even started yet we have a brief interruption at the very beginning. How many of you know that this week is like National Teacher Appreciation Week? Yeah? So we want to present our amazing teachers and staff with a gift from all the families. And so we want all of the teachers to come up here. Aunt Lisa, Miss Laura, we want all of you to come up here. You're all here, right? Come on, everybody give them a hand as they walk up. How many of you know that what they do week in and week out is super important, right? Who are we missing? Cinnamon. Oh, where's Miss Cinnamon? Oh, great. She's definitely not flying here for this. Okay. She's staying where she is. We're recording it, so she'll have a little thing to watch back. But we just want to take a minute and say thank you. And we're going to have the students say some prayers over you. Really, sorry. This ministry has really touched our family personally. And I know that every kid that's sitting in here has been blessed to be a part of it. Every parent has been totally wowed by what God has done in and through each one of you. And I just want to personally say thank you. And on behalf of everyone, we wrote something. You all come together. Come together. I want to look at you. You're a good-looking bunch. I'm going to read this, and then we're going to have some students come, and you guys can lay hands on them and just surround them and pray and encourage them. And then we have a gift to give you. So it says, Dear Hybrid teachers and staff, we as a corporate student and parent body want to take a minute to genuinely thank you from the bottom of our heart for all that you do. Week in and week out, oh my gosh, I'm a crybaby. Week in and week out to make hybrid ministry so amazing. We see your dedication and commitment, your love and your care, your grace and your time, and sometimes even the tears of both frustration and joy. And we're very thankful for all of it. We pray God's richest blessings to be poured out upon your family and you as you continue to serve Jesus in all that you do, including the way that you use your God-given gift at Hybrid. We're excited to see the Lord continue to build his church, and we want to say thank you for partnering with the Lord to extend his kingdom as you pour into this next generation. We echo the prayer of Paul in Philippians 1 that says, Every time I think of you, I give thanks to my God. Whenever I pray, I make my requests for all of you with joy. It is with sincere appreciation for each of you that we round out this second incredible year at Access Hybrid. Thank you. And the gift that we have for you is hopefully to keep you going in the natural, to keep you fueled up. And so if you guys want to bring up the gift and they can open it up here, you guys want to just give them one more round of applause for being absolutely amazing. Oh, and Steven's not here. It's just, bummer. Yeah, go ahead and put it in the middle. You guys can tear into it. You might have to, somebody have a pocket knife by chance? They might need help getting into it. You like that? Go ahead, set that. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, go ahead and start opening it because we want you to see what you got. Go ahead and take this off. Does somebody have something that can help cut this open, maybe? Oh, there. Here comes David.
I'm trying to. You're going to have to teach me how to use it.
You guys will forever, maybe you'll all want to come 15 minutes early every day. Make your own.
A little bit earlier.
We'll do rock, paper, scissors for the last.
Thank you, parents. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for this. This is awesome. It's amazing. We're going to get it out today and use it. Yes, please. Thank you very much. It is a privilege and an honor to do what we do, and but thank you for recognizing them. Okay. Okay, and also for the teachers, if you didn't know, there's a lunch for the parents, or a lunch for the teachers from the parents. Thank you, guys. We love you.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Just go ahead and present now. Thanks. I'm just going to go ahead and give a presentation now, Ashley. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the day you've been waiting for. Well, the second day you've been waiting for, because today, in the presence of your friends and some parents and the teachers that you are just celebrated and promised some caffeination to, which is great, we are going to meet and greet with some of the greats of modern history. We are going to walk with doctors. We are going to talk with kings, leaders, inventors, great athletes, and even, are there any infamous people? Inventors. Did I say inventors? And there might even be some sleight of hand. I don't know. So, if you could please join me with a round of applause for our very own, with the help of Mr. Grady Banier, we are welcoming Theodore Roosevelt. President Roosevelt, it is a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's very good to see you.
Hello, I am Theodore Roosevelt, and I am going to tell you about a few major things in my life. When I was younger, I had 2 ranches in the Dakota Territory, which is now North Dakota. I have always loved animals, and back then I had 5,000 head of cattle. All the other ranchers laughed at my glasses and said that it wasn't manly. But I still like the cold days in North Dakota. I often visited my daughter, who was with my sister at my house in Sagamore Hill, New York. My 2 ranches' names were the Chimney Butte Ranch and the Elkhorn Ranch. I only ranched for 3 years. In 1898, I sold both of my ranches. If you didn't know, ranching is basically just raising animals. Many of you know that I was president after William McKinley was shot and later died. But many of you don't know that I was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1906. for creating peace in the Russo-Japanese War that went on from 1904 to 1905, and I also helped resolve a dispute in Mexico. If you didn't know, I always used to like to box. But then my eyesight was permanently damaged from being in a boxing match. Most people don't know that, but most people don't know that I used to box, and I also am planning to run again for president, but it may not work out. And I'm going to give a speech later about it, and hopefully I don't get shot. Thank you for listening.
President Roosevelt, we're so grateful. Would you honor us with just a couple of questions? We just, I'm curious.
Sure.
Curious minds out there. This is your opportunity, audience, live audience. Oh, back there, the young man with the Rough Rider look, right there. Yeah. If you were going to get shot, what would you project? Maybe what year or area would you think you might get shot?
I don't think I'm going to get shot.
You don't think you would? But if you were going to, possibly, what would you might predict?
I don't think anybody's going to think of shooting me.
Okay, probably not. Okay, with the very big stash. Yep. Oh, he's very curious. How from one stash to another. He's an admirer. How long did this take you?
5 seconds.
5 seconds. It's that manly. Okay, over here. Were you good at boxing?
Reasonably.
Reasonably good. Okay, and the gentleman back here. Do you
Yes.
keep animals in the White House? Yes. Could you give us any examples or?
I had a few bears at one point.
Oh my, bears. Okay. 2 more questions right here.
I don't think I'm going to get shot when I do my speech.
I mean, nobody thinks they're going to get shot. I think what the audience is curious about is like, if you were a predicting sort of person, like looking into the future for you.
Maybe somebody will shoot me.
Yeah, so if you could just take a guess at how long you might live, like what year you might die.
I'll probably be about 60 years old.
About 60, okay. What year would that be? Because how old what year would that be if you?
Probably around 1919.
Around 1919, okay, just a guess. Okay. And up front, okay, this young man in the stripes, yes.
I think I can help you next time.
Next time you can help. Okay, and one here.
How long's your mustache?
I'm going to go ahead and answer. Your mustache is about 5 inches end to end. Last one.
What year were you president?
1901 to 1909.
Thank you so much, President Roosevelt. It's an absolute pleasure. And could anyone in the audience tell me about the Spanish-American War? Awesome. So changing gears a little bit, and after all that talk about shooting, if someone would happen to get shot, what would you need? you would need a doctor. And that's just what we have in the house today. Would you please put your hands together for one of our most modern, historical, and important figures? Please welcome with me Dr. Ben Carson.
Thank you. So first, I'm going to start out with a rhetorical question. Have any of you seen an actual human brain? Probably not many, but here's a picture of one just so you know approximately what it looks like. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, so I've seen inside countless ones and operated on most of them, and I'm still astounded with the complexity of them. I still don't understand how they work either. But I probably do know more than most doctors about them. But how did I learn everything about the brain? I'll tell you about my life, my childhood through my career. So I started out with an unstable childhood, mostly because my mom and dad divorced when I was 5. Curtis, my older brother, and I were raised by our mother. But our mother only had a 3rd grade education, was illiterate, and usually worked about 3 jobs at a time just to keep food on the table. Because of this, Curtis and I did badly in school, especially through 5th grade. Finally, I didn't put up with us failing school. Finally, our mother didn't put up with us failing in school. She made us read multiple books per week and give reports on them. Since she couldn't read them because she was illiterate, she made us read them to her. At first, I disliked the assignment because we couldn't watch TV, but eventually, after struggling through the first month, I began to enjoy soaking up the information and quizzing my friends on it. As a result, I improved in school. I especially enjoyed science and math and had the best vocabulary in the class. Despite this, we were still poor and could hardly pay the taxes and eat. And on top of this, we were also made fun of because of our black skin. But we persistently read and did well in class, and we graduated high school. Coming out of high school, I went to ROTC so that I could go to college because we didn't have enough money to pay the tuition. As well as providing me with a scholarship, ROTC helps me increase my problem-solving skills and gave me the discipline I needed. I learned many leadership skills there. I attended college at Yale, pursuing my childhood dream of being a missionary doctor. Following my graduation, I pursued a medical degree at Michigan. I was able to do some hands-on procedures at Michigan and discovered my exceptional hand-to-eye coordination. After graduating a doctor and getting married, we moved to Baltimore, Maryland because I got an internship at Johns Hopkins. So Johns Hopkins, in case you didn't know, it's known as one of the best teaching hospitals in the country. I got asked to serve a fellowship at a hospital in Perth, Australia. I accepted, and my wife moved to Australia for a year. During that year, I learned most of what I know about the brain. I arrived in Australia a surgeon and came back to the US after being trained in neurosurgery. I realized that my combination of solving problems and hand-to-eye coordination was put together and would make a brilliant neurosurgeon. So I could finally do surgery on people. My first few procedures were successful but risky. Some of them included separating 2 babies or conjoined twins. Some of them including removing part of someone's brain. So my first major surgery was separating 2 conjoined twins. Their last name was Binder. They were born in Germany, and so the medical team and I, the medical team was at least 30 people. We moved temporarily to Germany to prepare and do the surgery. It took a long time to do it didn't take that long to do the surgery, but then they were put in a coma because their brain was swelling, and it was very tense waiting. But it was successful, and we celebrated a lot. And after that, I received dozens of speech invitations because people wanted to hear about how I did at it. I did hundreds of similar procedures per year, and none of them were alike. I never ceased to learn something new every procedure. Many times I come back from work discouraged and overwhelmed because they don't have happy endings sometimes. That's one of the reasons I decided to retire after over 30 years of neurosurgery. I also would like to be more free to spend my time with my family and give speeches. When I give speeches, I usually give them to children because children are the one who receive the education. For me, what lifted me from poverty was really my education, because once I learned to use my brain to my advantage, it liberated me. So if I just want to leave you guys with, make sure you get well educated, because that'll allow you to get a good job. Thanks.
Dr. Carson, I can just speak for many of us. We really appreciate your time and found this very motivational, just as you do for many of your students. Are there any questions about maybe his childhood, or what, some of these things he overcame to be able to stand before you as one of the probably the leading, you're really humble about it, really the leading neurosurgeon in the world. So, any questions? Pele. What was your mother's name? Oh, your mother's name?
Something like Cassandra, but it wasn't that.
Usually referred to as mommy or mom.
Yeah.
Okay. Over here.
What year were you when you started being a doctor?
Young man wants to know how old, or like what year in history? Yeah, about like what era would you?
I'd say 1970s.
In the 1970s, he started his medical career in the 1970s. Yes, back here. Oh, could you describe about the ROTC?
ROTC is basically a program that, coming out of high school, you can join and you learn a lot about the Army, and you sort of do a lot of drills, but it also gives you a scholarship to college so you can get education.
Great. And over here, Brooklyn? How many siblings do you have?
Just one, my older brother Curtis.
Good. And Aunt Lisa, the distinguished lady in the second row?
In 2016, you ran a nomination for president for the Republican Party. Will you do it again?
Do you have intention of running for office again?
I don't know. I enjoyed the ability to share my views on a higher level, but I don't think I'd do that again.
Thank you so much. One more round of applause for Dr. Ben Carson. Excellent job. Well, speaking of politics, our next guest, with the help of someone who actually has great ties with this country, it was a governmental leader. Would you please welcome with me Pedro II from Brazil.
Hi, my name is Pedro de Alcantara Juan Carlos Leopoldo Salvador Bibiano Francisco Xavier de Paula Leocato Miguel Gabriel Rafael Gonzaga, but you can call me Pedro II. I was the son of Pedro I, and he is the reason Brazil is an independent country. I was born December 2nd, 1825, in the capital city of Rio de Janeiro, and I had terrible parents. When I was 3, my mom croaked, and when I was 5, my dad went to get the milk. Well, him and the rest of my family went on a permanent vacation to Portugal, but they left 5-year-old me behind. I was too young to rule the country, so my father's regents ruled for me until I was older. Growing up, I had the best schooling. I learned many languages such as French, Hebrew, and Arabic, and I enjoyed studying science. I was declared of age to rule on July 18th, 1840, at only 14 years old, and crowned emperor on July 24th, 1841, at only 15 years old. I was also a tall 6'3", and I was taller than all my friends. I just shrunk a little. I didn't want to make you guys feel small. Now, I was pretty busy, being the leader of a country and all, but it got kind of lonely. So after seeing a good-looking picture of her, I married Terina Cristina from the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. But when I first met her in person, she wasn't that hot. But I grew to love her, and together we had 4 kids, of which 2 daughters made it into adulthood. And I never cheated on her, unlike my dad. Now back to my role as emperor. I built many factories, railroads, and schools, which turned Brazil into a more educated and modern country. Brazil still had one big issue, which was slavery. I disapproved of slavery, and I worked hard to get rid of it. During my rule, 7 to 8 million people lived in Brazil, and 5 million of them were enslaved. The first thing I did was set up a fund to buy freedom for enslaved people, and I also bought a slave off the street once. And in 1871, I passed a law that said that children of slaves would be free, so that children wouldn't have to go through the hardships of being a slave. And in 1888, slavery was finally illegal. And many people were happy about this at the time. See, there were a few problems. First was the American cotton farmers who lived in Brazil, who relied on slaves for their farms. And they were angry because without slaves, they couldn't have free help for their farms. And there are also other people who thought any modern country should have a constitution instead of a monarchy. And the military became involved, and I was told I had 24 hours to pack my things and leave the country. So that's what I did. I left with the rest of my family to Paris in 1889, and I stayed there for 2 years, where I would catch pneumonia and die later a few days before Christmas. Although I was gone, my impact lasted. Brazil had become a much more educated and modern country. 700,000 slaves had been freed, and there had been much more equality. Maybe I was a good leader because I had no interest in it. Often said I would rather be a teacher than a leader, but I felt that I had a duty to Brazil and its people. Now, you could say I did a lot, and you're probably thinking I'm a pretty cool guy, because I am. But my greatest achievement will always be growing this sick beard. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate that. It is a sick beard. Awesome.
I know.
So I really didn't realize how the influence and the connection that you had with the American colonies and the cotton farmers. So thank you for helping us up here in America understand some of that. We tend to be ethnocentric and just care about America. So thank you for bringing up some of the influence. A couple of questions. Yeah, over here. How long indeed did this, and well-groomed I might add, how long did it take to grow this beard?
I was like 17, because I'm very manly.
Okay, so 17, and then it just groomed it there after. Okay, thank you. Okay, great. Over here, Ben. Siblings. Do you have any sisters and brothers?
I don't remember, because they left me when I was 5.
Oh, everybody just took off in the night. I'm so sorry.
though, because they got to go, and I had to stay behind.
All right, Daly.
Why do you keep on pulling your beard down?
Oh, she's curious about why you're. I think I'm just going to go ahead and answer for him. He's proud of it, and his fascination is kind of like girls twirl their hair, men.
Yeah, why do you girls do that?
Yeah.
That's why
All
I
right,
do that
front
with my
row,
hair.
Aislinn. Oh, we have help from one of our student guests. Okay, back here.
Okay, so whenever you had the pneumonia,
Yeah.
did it feel like really cold? It was like you're dying.
Wait, what?
When you had the pneumonia, were you? I'll expand on her question. She was asking like, did you know you were near the end? And I would even expand the question. How did you feel towards the end? Did you feel like you had finished some good work in your lifetime?
I thought so. My last words were wishing prosperity and peace for Brazil.
It's wonderful. Last one.
Do you relate with the Marquis de Lafayette with having a really long name?
How do you feel about your long name?
Never heard of him.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Paige.
You're welcome.
King, Royal, Pedro II. All right, thank you. All right, we have another trailblazer, a really important influence in the fight for civil rights, an early, someone who had, and actually from our audience, can someone raise your hand and talk about what civil rights means? Anybody? Yeah, young man? It is. And this particular man, wasn't just civil rights, but actually, I've actually got my papers mixed up. I'm going to correct that. We're calling an audible. All right. On your guest list, for those who have a program, you'll notice that our next guest is an inventor from America, a very significant inventor who didn't actually invent a motor car, but perfected the assembly line. So if you could please, with the help of Henry Shorts, could you please put your hands together for our very own Henry Ford.
Hello, I'm Henry Ford, and I invented the Model T automobile. As a wee little lad, I loved machines and how they worked. I was so intrigued, I frequently took apart my siblings' toys. They did not like it, but I made sure to put them back together correctly. I also, by the age of 10, I could fix watches. How many of you 10-year-olds can fix watches? Lies! Lies, I say, lies! When at 13, I saw the most magnificent sight, a locomotive, but not any kind of locomotive. This locomotive was not on train tracks, but on the dirt roads.
Mr. Ford, I'm going to slide you forward just a little bit. I'm going to tip you down just like this. You can speak into this strange box.
Yes, very strange indeed.
Mr. Edison would be so proud of you. There you go. If you need to swing that box, just talk right into that. Thank you.
It was astonishing. I needed to know how they worked. From that moment on, I was determined to make a motor car. I started by making steamship engines. Then I worked my way up towards the chief engineer for Thomas Edison. In my spare time, I would make motor cars. My first car was the baby carriage, because that's exactly what it looked like. But I made a big mistake when I built it. It was too big to get through the doors. I ended up smashing through the walls. My wife was not happy. The next car I built won its first race, the 999 race car. Soon, rich businessmen were helping me make my Ford Motor Company. My company built many different kinds of cars, each named after the letters of the alphabet. My finest car, the Model T, it was the most magnificent thing I have ever created. It was large enough for the whole family, made of the best materials. And so, affordable, any man could buy one. It was so popular, I needed a way to make it faster. When I started, it took 12.5 hours to make one car. This was too long. I used the assembly line, which cut it down to 95 minutes. For those who are curious, the assembly line works like this. A car would move down a conveyor belt, and workers on each side of it. Each worker would put on a part as the car would pass them, and would move past, and they would put their part on. So instead of workers scrambling around trying to build one car, Bob would install the back seat, and every time it came down the line, Billy would install the wheel, and Billy Bob, my favorite worker, would install the headlight. It made me so rich, I was able to give my son Edsel $1 million in gold.
his 21st birthday. By 1924, 16 years after introducing my Model T, I sold my 10 millionth Model T. I want to build other Model Ts for my Ford Motor Company before I died. In 1947, at the age of 83, and no, I was not found on the road dead. I died of a stroke with my wife Clara by my side. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Ford, could we have a closer look at your Model T? Thank you. We're just gonna.
It's very beautiful.
Oh, nice. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Ford's Model T. Oh, we're just absolutely teeming with questions. Young man over here, are you a fellow inventor perhaps?
What's a car made out of? It's made of the best materials. Are you listening? I stopped by Home Depot, I do admit, but it helped.
Daniel Boone,
What do you think about Chevy?
what do you think about Chevy?
What? Chevy?
Other manufacturers, do you have any competition?
They must be awful. I mean, look at this. It's so much beautiful in there.
President,
What do you think about Dodge?
what do you think about, they're asking about
Even
competitors.
worse.
Mr. Pedro II, larger engines. What's your opinion on larger engines?
Useless.
Okay, down here. So how many cars, different models, have you built?
I built many. I do not remember how many, but probably about 10 I built.
So after the Model T, did you feel like this was perfected, or are there other models after the T?
Eventually, I had to make modern versions, like the Model A.
Okay, good. All right, and let's see. We've had Isaac, here. Okay, have you ever heard of a Tesla?
A Tesla? What is that?
Tesla, the fellow who made the radio.
The radio?
Yes, Tesla's radio. You might have heard of him.
I use that thing in my car.
Yes, good. The distinguished lady here in the second row.
In 1914, you did the unthinkable. You gave everyone a $5 raise or a $5 wage. That was $5 per day. I believe the Cleveland newspaper said it was like a rocket going into the sky. What was your reasoning and why did you do it?
I did it because the assembly line was very boring to do than doing it yourself. So I raised the price from $2.50 to $5, which made everyone want to come.
Excellent. I think we have time for maybe one more question. Yes, the gentleman using the Tesla in the back.
Is there anything special about the letter T?
Anything special about the letter T? Or why, could you refresh us on why this was called the T?
Because T tsunami and T, like that car.
Was this had to do with you using calling each successive model through the alphabet?
Yes.
So I thought this was very interesting, Mr. Ford, that you tried so many and really failed A, failed B, failed C, failed D, blew a hole through your wife's wall, all the way down the line to the letter T. It's lovely that she stayed with you. Congratulations. Let's give Mr. Ford a round of applause. Make some car noises. All right. Now we're going to leave North America. So everybody leave North America. We're going to take a long trip. We're going really far away. And we're going to go to the great land of the great country of South Africa. So the continent of Africa, all the way down to the south. Last year, if you were here, we studied the Boer Wars. We found this out there. And we are going to hear from with the help of one of our students, Christian Hall, we're going to hear from one of the greatest modern leaders that South Africa has known. This gentleman fought valiantly for civil rights and had an enormous impact. In fact, many of us had the opportunity to go see the Soweto Choir back in the fall, and even a lot of their songs in many different native languages paid homage and honor to this gentleman. Would you please welcome, with the help of Christian Hall, Nelson Mandela.
Hello, my name is Nelson Mandela, and I'm going to tell you a bit about my life. In 1934, I was sent to school in Clarkberry, where I got my university degrees at 16, and I also got my junior certificate. In 1937, I was enrolled into Hilltown in Fort Beaufort, and it was 177 miles away from my home. My brother was also there at the school, so he helped me around and made me feel more comfortable with the change. While attending the school, I took up boxing and long-distance running to remain active. After I completed school at Hilltown, I was sent to Fort Harris University College at age 21. At Fort Harris, my nephew Montezuma encouraged me into becoming a lawyer. I was also a part of the theatrical productions and student Christian associations where I led a Bible study. I was voted into the Students Representative Council where I led for 2 years. I wanted to step down and resign, but the principal did not like the idea, so he threatened to expel me from school if I resigned. I resigned the following day, and as a result was expelled. In 1940, I worked as a clerk in a law firm in Johannesburg. Excitingly, in 1943, I received my bachelor's degree from the University of South Africa. Shortly after graduation, I joined the African National Congress to protest about the rise of the money to ride the bus. Soon after I became an attorney, I became very radical after that. In 1950, I led a protest of about 8,000 people, and in 1956, me and some of the ANC members were taken into police custody because we were fighting against the unjust laws. I then co-founded a group called the Spear of Nation, where we blew up power plants, telephone lines, and military installations to fight against the opposition of our people. In 1962, we were arrested for our crimes. I was locked up on Robben Island, where I served 18 years. I worked on smashing lime rocks boulders, where my sight became damaged due to the sun's rays reflecting off the rocks. I was often thrown into solitary confinement because I had news clippings which I was not allowed to have. In 1982, I was then moved to Pollsmoor Prison. In 1988, I was transferred to Victor Verster Prison for a short time as well. I spent many years of my life in prison. In 1990, I was finally set free. After my release, I began working with President Frederick William to create a new government system where everyone had equal rights. As a result of our efforts, we were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. In 1994, I was voted President of South Africa, where I helped fight for equal treatment, rights, and set up schools to provide more educational opportunities. I also helped build more offices and homes. I created the Truth Reconciliation Commission to help people oppressed by the government. I also helped the rugby team come together with the community because most South Africans hated the Springboks rugby team's logo. Their logo represented white supremacy, which divided our country, and I wanted to bring unity. In 1999, I resigned as president, but I kept fighting against the government and poverty. I died on December 5th, 2013 at age 95. Although I passed it on, my mission continued forward.
Thank you so much, President Mandela. It's a pleasure. We have time for just 2 questions, so great opportunity here. Phoebe, how many years were you in prison altogether? Do you know?
27 years.
27 years of his life spent in prison. And one more question. How were you able to get news clippings and find out what was going on while you were in prison?
I had friends bring it in.
From visitors and slipping things in. And excellent. Thank you so much, President Mandela. It has been a pleasure.
Thanks.
All right. From South Africa, we're going to take our plane ride. We're going up to Europe, and then we're going to take a little hop across the English Channel to the great country of Great Britain. Would you please welcome with me, for the first time in many years, Miss Margaret Thatcher.
Hello, my name is Margaret Thatcher, and I was born on October 13th, 1925. I had one older sister, my mother, and my father to live with. But just because we had a small family of 4 didn't mean we had a small business. I helped run my father's corner store, and there were lots of customers all the time. Lots of customers. And I didn't really have a pleasurable childhood because I was constantly working in the store, and my parents said fun was a waste of time. What parents say that? I was allowed to go listen to my father's sermons. I believe they contained a great deal of intellectual substance. My father greatly influenced me as I matured into my 20s. I received a job as a chemist, but I didn't really love it. So I decided to start my adventure in politics. I just love those debates. Anyway, I ran for prime minister after attending a political school and was elected May 4th, 1975. I was the only woman in the congregation. My husband, Dennis Thatcher, was very supportive of me. When we first met, he was quite unattractive, but we married back in 1951 at Wesley's Chapel. Once, I was quietly working on my story and on my speech for the next day in my suite, and a time bomb was set in Dennis's room, and it went off. I was perfectly fine, and he walked out with a few singed hairs. I honestly don't know how he survived it, but he did. There was an attempt to assassinate me, but of course I didn't die. In 1980, Ronald Reagan, the US president at the time, invented the SDI, the Strategic Defense Initiative. The objective was to prevent nuclear weapons from reaching the US. At a meeting at the White House, he drew out the plan for me on a napkin. I was first skeptical about the idea, but ultimately I agreed. Our partnership helped shape the political landscape of the 1980s. Also, in my career, I got to meet the Queen. We were at a dinner party together, and I fell asleep. So embarrassing and informal. But apparently, the Queen signaled for her footman to bring me a pillow. I thanked her because it was really comfortable. I think it was like silk or something. It was really comfy. But she simply replied, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Prime Minister. I didn't mean to make you so comfortable. I thought you were dead." Moving on. In 1985, I signed the Anglo-Irish Treaty, which gave Ireland a say in the affairs of the North. It paved the path for the Good Friday Agreement in 1988. My management style and political views became recognized as Thatcherism. It emerged back in the late 70s, but then is still alive today. Being the first woman prime minister was quite difficult, but it taught me and the UK about the world. If you wanted to know, I have a few fun facts about myself. In my job as a chemist before I attended my political school, I actually helped develop soft serve ice cream. And I was given the nickname Thatcher the Milk Snatcher. While I was studying law, I gave birth to twins while I was attending school. Where there's discord, may there be harmony. Where there's error, may we bring truth. Where there's doubt, may we bring faith. And where there is despair, may we bring hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Thatcher. What a pleasure. Just so poised. We have just time for one or two questions. Yes, the gentleman here.
So they named it ism after you. What is it?
I don't actually know.
The Thatcherism. Was there another one you were referring to? Oh, she mentioned the one that she mentioned in her speech. Yes.
It was my political style. It was my political style and views on things and my beliefs, basically.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And let's go ahead way over here in the front row. Miss, how many children did you have? You mentioned the twins. Were there others?
Yes. I only gave birth to twins.
Hey, twofer. Just, if you're going to do it big. Thank you so much, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Our next guest, similar to Mr. Ford, is a guest who is going to have assistance from a hybrid student with his own namesake. So with the help of Thomas McTurnan, would you please welcome with me Thomas Jefferson.
Hello, I'm one of America's best writers. My name is Thomas Jefferson. Most of you probably know me because of my famous writing, The Declaration of Independence. Yes, I wrote that letter to King George of Great Britain. But let me tell you how it all began. I grew up on 2,500 acres in Virginia with my mom, dad, and siblings. Writing is my favorite hobby. I rode my horse around the property, carried a paper, a quill pen, and ink wherever I went. I loved observing nature. I would take notes on what I saw or wondered about. I wrote about every question I had, then I would set out to find the answer. One time, I wrote about the three-leaf clover and why it grew so well here in Virginia. I was a very curious boy. I learned by asking questions and listening, reading, and discovering. I wrote so much, but I needed a place to lean on and carry my quill pen. So I designed my own writing desk that I could take with me wherever I went. Sadly, my dad died when I was only 14 years old, and I learned to become a hard worker, and I had to take care of my mom and siblings. I inherited the farm. I studied hard and attended William and Mary College to become a lawyer. Working hard was something that improved me in my life, being a great man and not giving up. This work ethic helped me later on as I served our new country, the United States. I like to invent and design things. I even designed my own house. I call it Monticello, which means little mountain in Italian. Oh, by the way, did I tell you I speak 4 different languages? Latin, French, English, and Greek. With all this practice, I was able to write the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence was written for America to get their independence from the rule of King George. I believe America needed its own government. That's why I wrote it. Although the king did not like the letter, it made him furious. so I was troubled. The Americans, however, loved it. At last, on July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was adopted. One of the quotes I had on there said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." This was one of the things that made me super famous. It was such an exciting time for me as the Declaration of Independence was read aloud to the people in Philadelphia. Cannons boomed, people cheered, and torches were lit. Now that America was free from Britain's control, we needed a president. My friend, George Washington, was elected the first president. My friend, John Adams, became the second president, and then I was the third president of the United States. We all believe that God has given each person the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. During my presidency, I sent Lewis and Clark on an expedition to explore the West. Their discoveries helped me decide to purchase this territory from France. It was called the Louisiana Purchase. And this was one of my greatest accomplishments for this country. And that, my friends, is a story that you can remember the rest of your life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, President Jefferson. It's a pleasure. I think you should just be on a $100 bill for all that. I'll tell you what. A couple of questions. I think we have time for about two. Over here, gentleman in the middle. Could you say something in Latin for us?
I forget most of them. Hodie, actually, I remember that.
Right in the mic, nice and loud.
Hodie.
Oh, he's saying today. That's perfect. Okay. Let's get one more question. Yes, the gentleman up front.
You should get a haircut today.
Oh, all right. With that, thank you so much, Mr. Jefferson. All right, we're gonna have an intermission, but can we have one more? Do we have this steam for one more? Let's do a quick stretch. Everybody stretch up. Stretch out. To this side. To that side. I'm glad you stretched your arms nice and wide because our next guest is somebody who had to stretch their wings out. Would you please welcome me, with the help of Claire Halterman, the Wright brothers.
Successful flying airplane. Man, I love those guys. Ma'am, I'm so sorry. Oh, my back. Man, those things are not like the airplanes back in our day. Okay, well, hi, my name's Wilbur, and when I first came in here, your teacher, Mrs. Olson, so kindly taught me a song that had me in it. Could you sing it with me? I believe it went like Bell's telephone, Edison's light bulb, and Tesla's radio are some of the inventions that revolutionized the world. In 1903, the Wright brothers built and flew the world's first successful powered airplane in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Thank you, that sounded amazing. Well, speaking of the Wright brothers, I'm Wilbur. Has anyone seen my brother Orville? I think he's running a little late. But if you see him, tell him to come up here quick. When I was little, my family moved a lot, so it was hard for me to make and keep friends. So when I heard that I was going to have a little brother, I was so excited to finally have a best friend that I could keep for my entire life. So when he was born, I soon became very good friends with him. I had 3 other siblings, 2 of which were boys, named Ruchlin and Lauren, and I had one younger sister named Catherine. I had 2 parents who were married, and we lived in a family of 7. You probably know me for my invention of the airplane, but what most people don't know is that I did many other things. For example, me and my brother Orville owned a bicycle shop together. We would repair, and we even invented our own type of bike called the Van Cleve bicycle. We also loved to build things. We installed curtains to all of our windows in our house, and even turned our old shed into a photography darkroom. But the thing we're most famous for is our invention of the airplane. I wanted to build the airplane because all of my life I was interested in building and helping people. But it took me and my brother more than 500 attempts before we got our first successful flight, which lasted just 12 seconds and traveled 120 feet at 6.8 miles per hour on December 17th, 1903 in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. But it took us countless hours and attempts before that happened. And if we would have given up, we would have never been able to help people see family members who live far away or to just simply go on vacation. So never give up, because you never know. Maybe on your next attempt, it'll be successful.
Mr. Wright, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you take a few questions? Thank you. Would any questions for Mr. Wilbur Wright? Yes, Pedro. Who is your favorite sibling?
Probably my brother Orville. 'Cause
Super
we were
unfair
super
question.
Close in age.
Okay. Down here. And how old are you when you, just now as you've invented the airplane, about how old were you when that happened?
Probably around 30.
Right, so pretty, about the same age actually as when Jesus started his ministry. There's someone there.
Oh, Orville! Yes! Where were you?
I might have crashed the airplane.
Orville! Sorry, I have to go. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're gonna have a short intermission while we check out that little airplane crash. So if you are elementary or non-presenting middle schooler, we're gonna take a little break. We have about 10 minutes, listen for the whistle, and then we'll rejoin for the second half. If you're presenting today, we're gonna have a quick picture up front, and we'll see you back in a few minutes. Thanks so much.